Greetings! Something a lot of players have commented on with Alpha 16 is that while they love electricity, having wires all over is really a big bother. While you can hide them by putting relays behind the walls, or maybe tripling up the walls to have passages in between for the wires to run, or otherwise find some ways to hide it, it still comes down to usually having a mess of wires or having to do sometimes fairly extensive building modifications and design changes to hide the wires. But not to worry. Today we will be creating a wireless power box which will allow you to power your items without showing the wires. Beyond adding this new block, we'll also be adding a recipe to craft it, and we're going to be putting it into the skill progression tree as well, so we are covering 3 areas of modding at once. What I didn't realize was that when I created my modded TV previously, I was pretty much already done with a wireless power transmitter as well, which Jerva kindly highlighted when we discussed it. Sadly, there are some limitations. The wires look a bit weird inbound, and there's no way to easily tint or color the blocks like you can with items. So whilst for the Vedui community armor I could make them green, here I have to make do what's already there. All the changes I'm making will be in the description below, so it should be easy to cut and paste into your config files. Again, as always, take backups. Make a copy of each file before you change it, just in case something goes wrong to the original. If you're wondering where I am, what this new base is, it's because I'm on the Vedui community server. Link for joining will be in the description, but it's a temporary hideout. I finally got the new AI components from the trader, so I'm going to be replacing Gaia at the main base at the end of this video. But let's get down to business. Firstly, let's construct the block. All the XML files are under the standard data config folder of the game files. We open up the blocks.xml and scroll down to the bottom where we're going to put everything to keep it neat and tidy. And I'm going to be pasting in what I've created previously, and we can walk it through. The first thing that you want to make sure you do is give it a unique ID. So I put it 2042 because the previous one was 41, so that's pretty straightforward. Each block has to have a unique ID. It's very important. We're also going to give it a name. In this case, it's going to be a wireless power box, and the name itself is important because it will have to match what we're going to create in the recipe and in the progression. We also need to make it a powered class. So this is what allows it to be an electrical item and hooking up with wires. The next couple of properties, such as the model, the icon, can be really whatever you want it to be. In this case, I'm going to use the fuse box, so that's what I'm using. We have a few other properties in there, such as what material, texture, etc., etc. I'm just going to keep them standard. For max damage, I'm going to give it 500 because it's just an iron box. If you're making, say, a concrete or steel block, obviously you want to put this a lot higher. An important property to set is the required power. Now you can set this to whatever you want to, and I'm going to actually change it to 1. But this is the passive power draw that the item will require in order to function. And you can put it to a lot higher if you want to, if you think 1 is too conservative for wireless power. But I think that for passive power draw, it's very annoying when it gets very high because you end up having to refuel your generator even if you have nothing running. For repair items, we're going to use just forged iron. So that's what you're going to use if you want to repair it when it's been damaged. Harvesting is what you get when you're wrenching it and breaking it down, such as getting some electric parts, scrap iron, scrap metal pile. A final good property to set is the take delay. We're going to put it at 5 seconds. And this is the property that allows you to pick it up when you have a land claim block and how long it takes. And that's it. But how do we make it wireless? What is the property to set? Well, I was wondering that too initially, but it turns out that any new electrical items you create, by default, has a wireless output. I suspect this is merely a side effect of it not having a hard-coded location for the wires to connect, which means that the inbound wire will be hanging in there, which is a little bit ugly. But the outbound wire, because it has nowhere to connect, basically is invisible. So that's the feature we're going to be using to make it wireless. So for the first item you put on, the first wireless power box, it will look a little bit weird, but for the subsequent ones, because there are no wires showing, they look just fine. So let's turn to recipes.xml file and add a way to craft it. Again, we're going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to paste in what I created. Now, for this one, why do I put it at the bottom? Well, what happens with the recipe as the game load is that if it runs into some error, such as you're having electric part with double C, The engine, as it loads it, will see that it can't match this to anything and will stop processing. So anything below it will not show up as a valid recipe in the game. But the rest of the ones that have been already processed will show up. So if you put this as the first recipe and it fails, nothing will be craftable. If you put it at the end, this is the only one, and of course anything below it that will not be craftable. So that's helpful to know. In this case, we're going to name it wireless power box because it has to match the block. Going to have it at count 1. That means that 1 gets created every time you craft. And we're going to craft it at the workbench. We're going to give it 3 electric parts, and we're going to move the C. 5 electronic parts, which is the electronic components, and 4 forged iron. And that's it for the recipe. Very simple. Now the next thing is entirely optional, but it makes sense. If you recall how crafting electrical items work, it is that you need to unlock the electricity basics level 1 and 2 before you can craft certain items. As we have it right now, if we don't do anything else, you can actually craft this wireless power box without having learned even the electric basics perk 1 or 2. And that looks a little bit weird. Now we have a little bit of a problem here. If you notice that for perk 1 and perk 2, there are already 5 items in there. Now, the in-game UI has some limitation in that will only show 5 items, or rather the top 5 items that are for that perk level. So if I add an extra item here, it means that the speaker will not show. So we're going to basically reform them a little bit, and I've done that here. So I'm going to put the speaker higher up and the spotlight player as well. Now, it means that when I put in this wireless power box, which is basically following the same standard as, it's unlocked level 2, etc., it will show up. So what will not show up is the 6th one, which is now the Ceiling Light 07. But I don't really care about that one. I think that showing the speaker is more important. Maybe in future versions, they'll make it such that the in-game UI is more dynamic so that it can pick up new things with having such a hard limit for what the UI can show. But we make do with what we can. And this is it for changing the progression for this wireless power box. With it, you have to be perk 2, and if you want to put it at perk 1, you can do the same thing and just shift it up here. If you don't have it anywhere, it will be craftable without any perk to be learned. So make sure you save all the files and restart the games. And now we're going to go through the setup. So firstly, let's have a look at the player skills, and we go to the skill tree, and we're going to search for electric basics. If you see, there is now a wireless power box on the 2nd level. One of the lights isn't showing up, but we don't really care about that. So, but at least it means that we can craft it if you have learned it, which fortunately I have. We go to the workbench and we do a search for wireless. And you see the wireless power box, which has the perk already tagged here, and it requires the items that we put. So let's create 2 of them. And I'm going to fast forward here a little bit just so we don't have to wait. Alright, with the 2 crafted, let's go up to the roof here, actually just the next level, and start hooking things up. So I'm going to put down a battery bank because it's just a simple portable way to provide power. And I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to put the first one next to it. And let's put the second one, let's put it down here. Now, if I connect it, I right click on the battery bank and right click on the wireless box. You'll see that the wire is hanging in midair, and there's no easy way of changing that one, unfortunately. But the first one will look like that. But it is being powered. You see it's yellow and 1 watt. If I then chain it down here to the second one, you'll see that there is no outbound cable and there is no inbound cable. So it is wireless. And if I then use this one to start lighting things up, let's take this one over here. You'll see everything is still working. I can do the same here, and it works. And as I continue chaining these ones, the wires will start to disappear. So if I connect to, let's say, this one over here, the inbound wire will disappear, but it's still being powered because it's being powered from the wireless power box. So that's pretty neat. And I can do the same thing over here. With the usual 15 give or take block distance for wiring, it means that you can hook up things in a fairly easy manner across a room from a central location. As you can chain these wireless power boxes to each other, you can put one in this room and you can put one further down and so on, and just start chaining each room based on its own wireless power box. So that's pretty straightforward. One item I wanted to show is that if you press E to pick up, you'll see it counts down from 5, which is the take delay that we previously set. And let me cancel that one out. Also to note that if you place down a switch and you hook that up to the wireless power box, the cable from the power box to the switch will be invisible, but any cable out from the switch obviously will be visible because the switch is a normal electrical item. So you just have to keep that in mind as you hook things up. And that's all there is to it. So to recap, we created the block with relevant properties. We then created a recipe for crafting the block. And finally, we added it to the perk progression, much like the rest of the electricity items. For added homework, you could make another block, say a concrete block, and make that a wireless power source to simulate hiding wire in the building itself. If you found this guide useful, consider subscribing for more if you haven't. And check out all the other guides and tips and tricks videos that I have created for the community. Have fun. If you create something cool by modding blocks and electricity, do let me know in the comment section below. Good luck. Time to upgrade Gaia. If only I can get in. I don't think the main door is gonna work. And nope, let's try the bike evader. No, that looks locked as well. See, I shouldn't have been locking everything last time. I should have left it open. Damn it. Let's go around though, I think. Oh yeah, back door open. Let's do some parkour here. Alright, let's try again. No one saw that. Alright, let's get in. Nice. Alright, this is looking good. Everything turned off. No defenses. She won't know what hit her. Alright, let's disassemble
How did you get in?
it. She's going down.
What are you doing?
You're going down, Gaia. You're going down.
Stop. Please
Nope,
stop, Master.
Nope. Sorry. Alright. Let's get it back in. And let's boot it up.
Booting up. System initializing.
Finally. Maybe I can get some order back here.
Ready
Get
to
my base
accept
back.
orders, sir.
Computer, run diagnostics.
Please hold.
Do a systems check.
Yes, sir. As you
I want
command.
to make sure everything is working. And then re-enable all the defenses. I'm gonna go sleep. This has been a long night.
It shall be done.
Finally.
Special thanks to the great patrons supporting the channel. If you would like to join the vetted community and support these videos, do follow the Patreon link below.